was faster and faster.
Grand Prix racing returns to Brno this weekend. You know, one of my favourite circuits on the calendar. I've been lucky enough to attend 2 Grand Prix there, and it's a fantastic flowing track with some serious elevation changes. But while the racing at Brno this weekend will be important, the most important laps of the weekend may actually happen on Monday when MotoGP stars get their first taste of the new 850cc bikes, Pirelli tyres that are going to shape the future of the sport. But before we get there though, there's plenty to talk about. So let's look at the Brno GP team updates. Welcome back to With Antone MotoGP. Now let's start with Aprilia. A pressure is seeming to be everywhere. It's probably the biggest team story. All eyes are on Aprilia this weekend, not just because of their performance, but because of the atmosphere in the team, particularly surrounding Jorge Martin. Now, look, relationships still appear to be strained. Rivola's public comments have not helped, and questions are being asked about how the team is going to perform together. Look, for me, the question is not can Aprilia build a championship winning motorcycle? They've done that. The question is still whether they can build a championship winning environment. Now this weekend we see Jorge Martin with 2 long lap penalties, so this will make qualifying absolutely critical for Jorge. Martin cannot afford any mistakes on Friday and cannot afford a qualifying error. He can't afford a poor start. So again, will this see pressure on the first corner? His weekend is effectively compressed to qualifying and the sprint race, and whatever he can make in the first opening laps of the Grand Prix on Sunday if he hopes to get any major points. Now Marco Bezzecchi arrives with the points lead and a need to deliver some podiums, especially on Saturday. At this stage, consistency may be more valuable to Bezzecchi than outright victories, but we all know how riders think, and consistency goes against winning. Now look, Ducati across in Ducati, it's a season they now have to manage. After Hungary and the big points haul, Ducati now have a different challenge. Marc Marquez, the pressure has changed. Earlier in the year, Marc was chasing, but now he can just manage. I think it's 5 points a GP he only has to pick up on Bezzecchi. And championships are often won by knowing when not to attack. Marc doesn't need heroics this weekend. He needs solid points. He needs a nice clean weekend, and he needs to arrive at the summer break 100% healthy and ready to build. Speaking of healthy, Alex Marquez is due to return, subject to a fitness test, and this could be one of the great stories of the weekend. Speaking of stories, Fermin Aldeguer, he's quietly becoming one of the strongest performers. His leg is recovering, and I think top 6 is his target. But I was interested to hear Gigi Dall'Igna's comments during the week when Gigi said the best bike should win, and he warns against going too far in the name of entertainment. This is not an accident. It tells me that him, Ducati, and the rest of the manufacturers are watching any future rule discussions very carefully. Now, across at Honda, HRC Progress is continuing. Their objective remains simple: keep moving forward on the grid. Diogo Moreira, well, the rookie for me continues to impress. You know I like him as a rider, and every weekend he seems to be building and moving forward. But HRC, they've said no to Moreira, no to him testing the 850 on Monday. Does this mean he's not moving to the factory squad next year? And will they go with Alonso? Or is it simply they're not trying to confuse him by making him go to Pirelli after he's doing so well with Michelin? One positive with the injury though to Zarco, he's getting all the upgrades right now and it's really showing on track. Now across at Yamaha, the grip and the resurfaced circuit at Brno will help, but it doesn't help their speed. It's going to additionally help them with turning and traction, but the problem with grip is it doesn't give you the horsepower that they really need. Okay, over at KTM, it's the same story every Grand Prix. All the hopes lie with Pedro Acosta, who brings up 50 MotoGP starts, and he's looking to add a win number 1 to the 13 podium finishes he's already got. And also keep an eye out for the fast finishing Bastianini. One question for you guys, Vinales, is he fit? Because his time is running out for a 27 seat. And this rumour about Fernandez going to Tech 3, I can't see it. Remember, he paid to get out of the contract when he was with KTM. Now off the track, the real political battle, MSEG DORNA and Liberty agreement. Reports suggest that maybe today we could get an announcement about the future structure, a new long-term agreement and a calendar expansion. They're talking Argentina, they're talking Adelaide in Australia and a brand new Chinese venue. Which leads us to the next one, the one bike proposal. You know, the MSMA's discussion around potentially reducing teams to one bike per rider, it doesn't look like a genuine proposal to me. It looks like a negotiating position. Why? It's simple. One bike, there's huge consequences. If you crash in qualifying, it's the end of your session. What about flag to flag? Are they going to bring back pit stops? There's safety concerns and there's logistics concerns. For me, this rule, this proposed rule, looks like more of a power play. And the question isn't whether the rule makes sense. The question is who's going to blink first. It's all about money. The manufacturers want it and Liberty are resisting. Okay, Monday, the Pirelli 850 future starts. It's the biggest issue for Pirelli they can now solve. They haven't had any current factory MotoGP riders testing the tyres at all, but now they will. And they're expecting the riders from Ducati to be Marc Marquez and Firmin Aldeguer. I think Aprilia will be Bezzecchi and Salvadori. Top Rack seems to be leading Yamaha's charge with Fernandez. And I think KTM might sit it out and put all their efforts towards Mazzano. And a strange decision from Honda, Mir and Marini to ride the bikes, even though they're not contracted, but it shows HRC's commitment. Okay, my prediction. Now there's a possible forecast for rain on Sunday around the GP start time, but my podium, I think it's going to be Bezzecchi from Marquez and Acosta. But don't rule out Agura, Pecca Bagnaia and Bastianini, who can really make that tyre last. But what do you think? Who should come out on top at the Brno Grand Prix? Is this MSA one bike rule just a bluff? And who do you think is going to do the best at the 850 Pirelli test on Monday? Look, the racing should be excellent this weekend. And for me, the real battle, it's Aprilia v Ducati and maybe KTM. And as always, if you've enjoyed this episode, why not give it a thumbs up? If you're brand new, welcome. Why not drop us a subscription and share this video around because it really helps the channel grow. Okay, thanks for watching this one. Enjoy the racing this weekend at Brno and bye for now.